Welcome back. You're watching Buy Now Sell Now on ET now, in time for the high risk and low risk ideas from our experts. And starting with you, Kunal, what are your ideas for the viewers today?
Well, I've picked up some new stocks which have been recently listed and stocks which have shown signs of good momentum in the last few days and weeks. The first one which I'm suggesting is upon Angel Broking. That stock is making a fresh swing high for itself. Very importantly, I think the volumes in the last 2 days, specifically yesterday and today, I think are signaling a sort of a turnaround for the stock in the near term. So, would suggest upon Angel Broking as a stock. Targets to be kept at approximately 450 plus, and stop loss to be kept at 388 mark. And the second one is again from a recently listed space. It's about Nazara as well. I think a week back or so, I had given a buy call on the same when it was at 1720 levels. It's moved up pretty well for itself. Now at 1875, 1880, I would suggest a fresh buy call on the same for a revised target of 2000 on the upside. And I sense that the momentum which the stock has shown last 1 week, 2 weeks, I think would continue to move up. Would continue to help the stock to move up higher, even from current levels. So purely a momentum trade on Nazara as well. Targets of 2000 and stop loss could be kept at 1825.
Okay, Rajesh, coming to you on this one, what are your high risk and low risk ideas for us?
Yeah, like the first one would be from the auto ancillary space, as auto is buzzing, and we believe that auto ancillaries are also going to do well. Yes, of course, the last month's numbers were bad, as we discussed sometimes back, but yes, going forward, Motherson can be one counter which can be looked upon. It is an enviable list of clients like Audi, Daimler, Volkswagen, etc. Q3 numbers were strong. They are into debt reduction, and EV order book mix is around 21%. Margins have improved. So I think this stock can be bought for a medium-term horizon for a target of 270 odd rupees. And the other one would be NMDC. We have seen steel stocks going up like anything. Steel demand is up, steel prices are being increased. So I think iron ore would be another thing to watch out for. The higher and with NMDC, the production has gone up, realization has gone up. They have restarted the Donamalai mines, expansion at Koroswamy, and the debottlenecking of Chhattisgarh mine. These are all positives for the company. And the best part is they are trading at a highly discounted value to the global peers. And if the demerger of steel, whenever it takes place, would be another value unlocking thing. So all the things give a very good valuation to NMDC, and we have a medium-term target of 180 odd rupees.
All right, so those are the high risk and low risk ideas coming in from Rajesh as well. And let's move on and let's get on board our viewer queries. And today we have a lot of viewer queries actually already started pouring in on YouTube, as well as we've got a couple of them on emails as well. The first queries come from Radesh. He wants to know whether he can continue to invest in Tata Power for a longer term. I believe that Radesh already has some investments in Tata Power, so he wants to know whether he can invest more for the long term. Rajesh, what's your take coming in for Tata Power? Makes sense to continue to hold on to this particular counter for the longer term?
Yes, of course, the valuations are pretty cheap. They have solar, the renewable energy is also there, the capacity is too high. And going forward, although the consumptions are low at this point of time because of lockdowns and all, but going forward, just because of the valuation, I think there is a huge upside in Tata Power. One can not only hold on to the stock, but anybody having a time horizon of 12 to 18 months can even buy at these levels.
Okay, let's go on to the next one, and this one is from Satya. He's asking about Just Dial for the short term. Kunal, coming to you on this one, he's holding 85 shares at levels of 900. What is your recommendation?
I think it's a stock which has shown interesting prospects in the recent term. I remember, I think the month of February, March, it had gone through a very vicious kind of an uptrend, moving up from 670 to almost 975,000 odd levels in a very short span of time. And the stock is very high beta in nature. So if you are okay with holding it from a high beta perspective, then I think I would suggest a hold on Just Dial purely based on some the recent chart developments. Would expect that the stock would at least retest the 975,000 level And if it manages to successfully break that, then I believe it could be in for a much more stronger uptrend over the medium term to long term. So you have to take it stage by stage. Near term, I think you should look out for targets of 975,000. But if the stock manages to graduate that and break past above with higher volumes, then you can keep a much more higher target and trail your stop loss accordingly.
All right, our next query is coming from Rajan Vittal, and this is particularly for you, Kunal. He's saying that he is holding 100 shares of Kotak Mahindra Bank, which he's bought at 1,730 rupees per share. He's holding it since the last 3 months. He wants to know whether he should continue to hold on to Kotak Mahindra Bank or should he move to ICICI Bank or Axis Bank for better return over the longer term. And also he wants to know if you could share your view on IDBI Bank. What's your view on that particular counter over the short term?
See, I think for Kotak Mahindra Bank and ICICI Bank, these kind of comparisons which we tend to do, I think they are very short-term oriented because, in a shorter-term time frame, it's possible that ICICI Bank can outperform for a couple of months or a couple of quarters. But then when you have a synchronized banking move or a move in the bank nifty, then both these stocks or the private sector bank stocks, they tend to play a catch-up pretty soon for themselves. So if it's specific towards shifting from Kotak Mahindra Bank to ICICI Bank, then I would suggest a no. I think the stock Kotak Mahindra Bank still has a lot of supports at the 1700 mark. We were discussing this, I think, a couple of days back as well on the show, that how the stock has some reasonably good support, on the short term as well as on the slightly medium term prospect on this 200 moving average. IDBI Bank, I would, not recommend a buy at current levels. I think it's prudent enough to try and, stay with the private sector large cap names, or at best, if you're looking at PSU stocks, then I would suggest either an SBI or a Canara Bank as a much more better alternative.
Sticking with the banking space, Anjali Sharma has got PNB bought at levels of 40 and it is moving down continuously, she says, but it's quite active in trade today, of course. It's doing quite well for itself. From what I can see, it's gaining about 6.8%, not much in terms of price action, but of course, it's a lower value stock at the moment. Coming to you on this one, Rajesh, this is a counter that she's held for a while, I think. Can she, or rather, sorry, I will go to Kunal on this one. What is the short-term view she's asking? And she's also asking about Clarion Chemicals for the long term. So perhaps we'll come back to Rajesh on that one later. Kunal, on the charts, PNB, what is the view on the charts?
You can hold on to PNB even though your investment is at a slightly higher level. But these PSU banking stocks, they go through those very typical kind of trend behaviors where these stocks, they tend to rally for 2, 3, 4, 5 months. They become favorite for short-term, medium-term traders, and then once the position gets overbought into these names, you see these stocks drifting lower and then going into a time correction. So I think PNB, the stock has already gone through a similar kind of a correction from a 2-month, 3-month high of 46 levels. The stock is back at 35, 36 levels. So it's already available at a more than a 20-25% discount from its recent swing highs. So I think as purely a medium term to short term bet, I would suggest a hold on PNB, and I would sense that there should be one more attempt for the stock to break past about that 45, 46 level. So would suggest a hold with an immediate target of 45 plus on PNB.
All right, our next viewer query is coming in from Shanmuga Sundaram. He has 20 shares of L&T Tech Services that he's purchased at 2,510 rupees per share. He wants to know whether he can continue to hold on to this particular counter. How are the charts for this counter looking like, Kunal?
You can repeat the name of the stock again?
It's L&T Tech.
I think the technology space has been doing phenomenally well. We've been discussing so many of the times that the IT space and the IT stocks are the ones which look extremely attractive. But it's very, very important when you're looking at a sector, when you're trying to pick up a sector, you have to time that sector to as close to your advantage rather than looking at it as pure momentum play. L&T Technology, I think, has done phenomenally well. I would suggest that if you're looking as an entry point, wait for some corrections which could come by. So, what happens is if the market gets into a more of a risk on mode, then it's possible that many of these IT stocks can take a bit of a backseat. And if you can try and take advantage of the correction which happens post that, that would be a good entry point for NT technology. I would suggest a good entry point would be closer to 2,250, 2,300 range. So wait for that correction. If it comes by, then I believe that's the level where you should look to accumulate NT technology.
Okay, Tata Chemicals a little under the weather today, losing about 6% or thereabouts. We've got Indu who's asking a question on this counter. She's bought at levels of 705, and she's specifically asking about the earnings, Rajesh. So I'll come to you on this one. What was your reading on the earnings, and would you hold on for the short to medium term?
Which stock you're talking about, Alex?
Tata Chemicals.
Yeah, the numbers have been pretty bad, no doubt on that. It was below expectations of any levels. And that's the reason we are seeing a cut in the stock price, and I believe that there would be a further cut of 5-6% from the current levels also. But going forward, with the kind of capacity of caustic this company has and the kind of expansion plan they have, I think this would be one of a better plays in the chemical sector as such. So this fall in bottom line and resultant fall in stock prices would be taken an opportunity to buy if the stock comes to around 680 odd levels. We should not forget that the stock has run up quite a lot in the last 1 quarter or so, and that's the reason, one of the reasons which we are seeing the kind of correction today. Apart from the results. So I think 680 would be quite a good level to accumulate the stock, and anybody holding for a longer period of time should continue to hold.
All right, there's a very interesting question that's come in from Ritesh. He's saying that Bata, Trent, PVR are actually going against the current situations where you're seeing the malls and non-essential services being closed. He's asking what is the reason behind it? Do stocks actually react to previous or upcoming situation? Do you want to take that, Rajesh? Definitely a question that must be arising in a lot of investors' minds, because these companies are moving against the trend. Rajesh? If
which stock you said?
You want to answer that? Right? Ritesh is asking why. Basically PVR, Bata, Trent. You've seen these companies actually move against the trend, considering what is happening to the malls and non-essential services. There's been shut down. These stocks are seeing some momentum gaining in. So he wants to know what's the reason behind it. Is there a reason why these companies actually move against the trend?
Okay, let me take it one by one if time allows. See, first, as far as Bata is concerned, the kind of retail presence they have, the kind of brand value, and they're trying to move up the value chain with launching of new products and all. So people are hoping that after 3 months or 6 months, when things come to normal, these stocks are going to perform. And as far as Tata Trent is concerned, it's from a Tata stable. They have Zara, Westside, Zudio under their belt, and the brands are doing very well. Valuations are quite well. Balance sheet is strong. Cash position is good, and that's the reason for Trent. As far as PVR is concerned, I would say that any opportunity in PVR, any upside in PVR should be taken as an opportunity to sell, because even if the restrictions are removed, halls start operating, but unless and until the content comes in, nobody is going to go to cinema halls taking the risk of COVID. We have seen last time when they opened up, but there was no audience outside. The capacity was being utilized by around 2 to 3%. So unless and until the producers start releasing content on theaters, it would be a difficult call for entire multiplex sector to perform. So I would say just stay away from multiplex at this point of time. That would be a call. PVR, if anybody is holding and the stock is moving, and it would be a good opportunity to book.
Right. I want to come across to you, Kunal, on the next one. We've got Jacob, who's writing in about TCI Express, and he's gotten at quite an attractive level, gotten at levels of 487 thereabouts. What should he keep as the target for the near term?
I think it's been a phenomenal, price if he's bought at 400 odd levels, and I think if I'm not wrong, the stock is at 929. 19 kind of levels on the spot prices. So it's been a phenomenal uptick for the stock. The only catch with these kind of names, and I'll admit that I don't track these stocks quite regularly because of the low liquidity in terms of volume. So the average trading volumes, they tend to be in just meager thousands. So for example, currently the volumes are at 5,000. So just be a bit circumspect in that aspect. But if you're holding it from those 400 odd levels and looking for an immediate target, I would suggest that wait for actually the breakout about 975 levels for TCI Express. It could be a big breakout for the stock, almost ending a 5-month consolidation for itself, and it could result into at least another 100 rupee on the upside. So 1075, 1100 is where I would place the targets for TCI Express, provided the stock breaks out of that 975 big hurdle zone.
All right, the next viewer query is coming from Srinivas Rangaraju. He's saying that he has 110 shares of CDSL, which is purchased at an average price of 200 rupees per share. He wants to know what should he continue to do with this particular counter. Kunal, want to take that one? CDSL definitely much above that purchase or average purchase price of Srinivas. What should he do with this counter now?
It's been a phenomenal. Congratulations to the viewer for holding on to the stock, even when at a time I remember clearly in 2019 or the stock used to just about languish at the 200 250 kind of a range. So it's good that the viewers now reaping benefits of holding on to the patience on the stock. I think at 800 odd levels the stock looking extremely strong. The trends have been phenomenally. I think it's the start of this March 2020 1 year 12-month 13-month rally. I think this has been a new find for the markets as such in terms of picking up trends and picking up pace. So I would suggest a hold on CDSL because such kind of stocks, they generally result into multi-years of uptrend. You can have a trailing stop loss mechanism, or you can keep on booking maybe a 10-15% profits at every 10-15% rise on the upside, and then look to trade these kind of names. But purely from the way you've invested into the stock at those 200 levels, I would suggest a hold on CDSL.
Okay, Rajesh, I just want to remind you to keep your answers a little shorter. We've got a lot of queries coming in. I would like to answer as many of them as possible. Mayur has got a question on Biocon, and I think a few of our other viewers also are asking about this counter. The question is why it's displaying weakness in the recent past, if you look at the entire pharma basket, and should you hold for the long term?
Yes, of course, one could hold the stock for a longer term time horizon because one, the biosimilars are doing well, their holdings in Syngene, and the prospects of the company going forward is very good. Even if the numbers in the short term are pretty bad, I think one could definitely hold on to the stock.
All right, our next viewer query is coming in from Rishabh Sarkar. He wants to know whether TCS is a good investment for the long term and what should be the target price that he should actually look to aim. Kunal, want to take this particular question? TCS, a good one for the long term or no?
So I think good one for long term, but then I think there are better candidates which are emerging from the IT sector. Yes, TCS of course has a phenomenal history of being a strong multiplier and I would say wealth generator over the last couple of decades. But I think when you look at the prospects of the emerging stocks from the IT pack, I would probably look at maybe a Wipro as well as being one of the similar kind of a story over the next 5 to 10 years. So I think if you're looking to buy IT stocks, I would suggest that why not have an alternative to TCS as well. You can look to buy TCS, but then I would suggest that also have a similar proportion of holdings in Wipro I believe that stock as well looks extremely attractive, specifically on the long-term prospects.
I want to come back to you on this next one, Kunal. We've got a question on Facebook from Vijay Kumar. He's got quite a big holding of Indian Oil Corporation, 12,000 shares of Indian Oil Corporation at a rate of 94 rupees. He's got a time horizon for about 6 months. Can you give him some idea as to how he should play this?
So I think it's been an average kind of a stock. Frankly, when I try and compare the OMC pack, it's not been a rank outperformer as compared to maybe the likes of BPCL and HPCL. But then the good part is that you've not bought at a much higher price of 105 or 110 kind of levels, even if it's a very decent investment on IOC. So the advantage which you have is that you've purchased at a fairly I would say current market price of 93, 94 odd levels for IOC, which probably gives you an advantage that you can hold on to it for the next 3 to 6 months. I think at least a retest of that 104, 105 levels could be possible on IOC. So purely from a slightly medium-term view, 3 months to 6 months time horizon, I would recommend a hold on IOC for a target in the range of 105 to 110.
All right, our next queries come from Akshat Nagpal. He wants to know what's the view on Glenmark. He's holding around 350 shares that he's purchased at 500 rupees per share since January 2018. He wants to know the new, what's the view rather for the longer term, and whether if he should look to switch it to another name in the pharma pack or any other pack for the matter being. Kunal, what's your take coming in for Glenmark Pharma?
It's an attractive stock. Cheryl, I remember clearly for almost 6 months or 7 months on our trot, the stock in the past 6-7 months was remaining in a range. 450, 500 was a big resistance range for Glenmark Pharma, but it was just a matter of time that these resistances they tend to get broken out, because more the consolidation, the more powerful the breakouts they tend to be, and we've seen that breakout happening for Glenmark Pharma in the last month. That was in the April series. Now I believe that the stock would channel itself slowly and gradually. The 520 level should act as a base or a support now for the stock, and it should try and gain significant traction. So I think if you've invested earlier on Glenmark Pharma, I would suggest maybe an averaging strategy at current levels, or if you're looking to hold, then I would suggest a position target of at least a 675 to 700 on Glenmark Pharma. Time frame for that would be approximately 12 to 18 months, if not more.
Rajesh, this next question is for you. Edelweiss Financial Services is the stock that we're asking about. Pranav Dangi has got as many as 2,500 shares at a slightly elevated price of 70 rupees, at least when you look at the current market price. Is there a case to hold on to this stock? It has displayed a bit of weakness in the recent past. Rajesh, if you can hear me, we're asking about Edelweiss Financial Services. We've got Pranav who's asking this question. He's holding as many as 2,500 shares of Edelweiss Financial Services at levels of 70. Should he hold on for the long term?
Yes, he can continue holding on to the stock for a longer term time horizon. There are some blips in the mid short term though. But going forward, I think this company is going to do well based on the kind of product profile they have and the kind of activity which we are seeing in the financial sector as a whole.
All right, our next viewer query is coming in from Somesh. He wants to know what can you please tell me more about Polycab share price? How is that chart for that particular counter looking like, Kunal? Polycab?
I think a very classic mid-cap name has done extremely well over the last few years. And the stock has a tendency of going into subtle kind of uptrend. So the uptrends, they last for a short duration of time, then it consolidates, tries to graduate to a new level for itself, and then slowly and steadily moves up higher from those levels. So we've seen the range shift phenomena happening for Polycab in the last few quarters as well from 1,000 levels and 1,200, and now at 1,400, 1,500 levels as well. You're seeing the next level of range consolidation. So it's a good stock. You should look at it from a longer term perspective. But again, as I said, that the stock will keep on giving you those opportunities of corrections, time wise as well as price wise. So take use of that and look to average it out at these kind of corrective levels.
Okay, I'm hoping we haven't taken this next one because we've already taken quite a few. Tata Consumer Products, it's a little weak in trade, isn't it, today, Kunal? Shivkumar is asking whether he can invest at these levels for the longer term horizon. Do you see more weakness in the near term?
I think you should try and take advantage of these kind of weaknesses for stocks and formidable stocks like Tata Consumers. I, for one, believe that the stock has potential, and the historical charts have shown those strength, and I think the stock has potential to rise up, to even 4 digits from current levels. But your time horizon has to be pretty much on the longer term side. So you have to be patient investor, and you have to use these kind of odd corrections which come along the way for Tata Consumer. Specifically, if the stocks correct somewhere closer to 10% from its recent swing highs, that should be a good starting point for you. Specifically from a long term, I would have a target of at least 1,000 plus over the next 1 to 2 years.
All right. With that was the last query for us for today's session. Definitely, we'll be back tomorrow as well at 11:15 a.m. So all of those whose queries we've not answered today, we'll definitely make sure we'll try and take it in tomorrow's query segment. So 11:15 a.m. is when we'll kickstart the query segment tomorrow. But on that note, we'll slip into a break on this edition of Buy Now, Sell Now. But stay tuned, more on the other side, so don't go anywhere.